And I think it's pathetic, some of the chatter that we see from these so-called experts who have zero accomplishments on their own resumes to point to. President Trump knows what he's doing. He has great instincts.
You know, there are some days that I think the job of press secretary for Donald Trump must be the most difficult job in the world. And then there are other days like today that I witnessed some of the clips that we saw yesterday. And I think that it's the easiest job because all you have to do is just heap praise and non-critical thinking thoughts about Donald Trump out into the airwaves. All you have to do is propagandize and worship the dear leader. All you have to do is describe your wildest fantasy land on Fox News, and then a job well done for Karoline Leavitt. In this clip, it really is remarkable if you juxtapose every other presidency in the history of our nation against how Donald Trump operates. And it makes you think that either these people are just yearning for the boot on their neck, or there's an explicit directive to them that you must shower praise on the dear leader whenever you talk about him. Because it's not normal. When George W. Bush was president, they didn't do this. When his father was president, they didn't do this. When Ronald Reagan was president, they didn't do this. Even when the scandalous villain Richard Nixon was president, they didn't treat him like this. This is not normal at all. Watch Karoline Leavitt, and then let's make our assumptions and our analysis about why. Are they directed to do this, or does it just come natural for these bootlickers? Watch this.
Look at what this president has done in 6 months. He has stopped 7 global conflicts all around the world, using the leverage of the United States of America to negotiate these conflicts to an end. You had the leaders of Azerbaijan and Armenia at the White House last week, both of whom said this would not have been possible without the leadership of President Trump and his administration. So the American people trust this president. That's why they overwhelmingly reelected him. And I think it's pathetic, some of the chatter that we see from these so-called experts who have zero accomplishments on their own resumes to point to. President Trump knows what he's doing. He has great instincts. This is a highly complex and brutal war that, again, inherited by Joe Biden. Russia did not invade Ukraine under President Trump. They invaded under Joe Biden because of his incompetence and his weakness. And this president is trying to solve it and bring it to an end. And he deserves great credit for that.
It's just weird. It's worshipful. It's cult action. It's cult mentality. It is what it is. Donald Trump hasn't ended war after war after war. The war that he promised he would end in 24 hours after taking office. In some moments, he said he was going to end the war before he even was inaugurated, because the threat of the imminent taking of power would be enough to scare Vladimir Putin to stop the war. And here we are. We're chasing down September. Donald Trump took office at noon on January 20th, 2025. Here we are. No end in sight. In fact, today he's in Russia. If you ask him, it's actually Alaska, in some kind of talks with Putin. He hasn't solved the problem. He does not deserve great credit for anything. And it's not just, look, the job that's so inexplicable, whether it be difficult or not, isn't just Karoline Leavitt's. Pam Bondi was out there doing the same kind of thing, talking about weaponization is over and everyone will be subject to the rule of law now, which is just a stark, it's mental illness, like a pervasive sickness that runs through elected Republicans and many run-of-the-mill members of the party. Watch Pam Bondi and marvel at the lack of being able to look backwards at history. She's saying this that you're getting ready to hear on the heels of January 6th, the armed, violent, attempted overthrow of the United States government that ended up with 1,600 or so people pardoned for their crimes. She's saying this while Donald Trump is a convicted felon. It makes no sense. Watch Pam Bondi yesterday doing her best Karoline Leavitt impression.
You know, I know you can't talk about very specific legal action that may be underway or a grand jury that may be impaneled, but we are reading that, in fact, a lot of the information that Tulsi Gabbard has been able to share with the public and make public, and the same with John Ratcliffe, that, in fact, there are people that purposely, my interpretation of it, seemingly trying to sabotage. I'll give you one example, the Russia hoax. We had a career senior intelligence assessment of the 2016 election. Then there was an order to go out and get another one because they didn't like the result of the first one. We know that the Hillary Clinton bought and paid for Russian disinformation dossier was used for not one but 4 FISA warrants, and yet they knew very early on that it was debunked and not true. If you lie to a FISA court, as a matter of law, don't you have an obligation to go back and tell the court as soon as you know that information you provided that court was inaccurate and not true?
Yeah, Sean, I can't confirm or deny whether we have a grand jury, an open investigation on anyone, but the weaponization of our government has ended. And Tulsi Gabbard, John Ratcliffe, Kash Patel, they're doing a great job. And no one in this country is above the law.
And by the way, all of that Hannity was rambling about comes from Tulsi Gabbard. Tulsi Gabbard, who Donald Trump couldn't even trust with accurate information about Iran and their nuclear program. Remember what Donald Trump said about Tulsi Gabbard. Now she's all totally correct. We must believe everything she says. She's totally right, except for when Donald Trump said this about her.
And it looked like I'm right about the material that they've gathered already. It's a tremendous amount of material. And I think within a matter of weeks, or certainly within a matter of months, they're going to be able to have a nuclear weapon. We can't let that happen. I was very much opposed to Iraq. I said it loud and clear, but I was a civilian, but I guess I got a lot of publicity. But I was very much opposed to the Iraq war. And I actually did say, don't go in, don't go in, don't go in. But I said, if you're going to go in, keep the oil. But they didn't do that.
What intelligence do you have that Iran is building a nuclear weapon? Your intelligence community has said they have no evidence that they are at this point.
Well, then my intelligence community is wrong. Who in the intelligence community said that?
Your director of national intelligence, Tulsi Gabbard.
She's wrong.
She's wrong. I don't believe she was wrong then. She's certainly wrong about this. This is all a lie. If you believe that somewhere in the back of the FBI, they found burn bags and hard drives in some back secret office or just some forgotten office, you're a rube. You're MAGA. That did not happen. And Tulsi Gabbard is not to be trusted. She wasn't to be trusted when she was a registered Democrat, when she was an elected Democrat. She was a liar and a grifter and a charlatan and a bomb thrower then. And she's a member of 2 cults, her own personal family cult and the cult of Donald Trump. Trump was right when he said she's wrong. What do you think? I invite you to this conversation. You can comment below. You can also call the voicemail line, 714-576-4054. And of course, as always, you can email me daily at dollemore.com. Make sure you're subscribed to this program. You can also follow me on social media. I am at Dollemore just about everywhere. I love and appreciate you. I hope you have a fantastic cult-free weekend. Be genuine and take care of one another.